Welcome, welcome, welcome to
Wow.
Armchair Expert. Boo!
Oh,
Happy Halloween.
what a disaster. Happy Halloween. We're going to go on a hayride later?
Oh, yes. We're going to hayride tonight. We're going to have a hayride tonight. Is all right. Trick or treat.
Oh, well.
Today, having nothing really to do with Halloween, I don't want anyone to think we think that she's scary.
No, she's not.
No, Gwen Stefani, very safe, very not scary.
So fun.
Oh, it was just a real pop out. That's how I can tie it to Halloween.
Yeah.
Gwen was a pop out.
Yeah.
Just a party.
I don't feel like I've heard much long form stuff from her. So it was really cool to get to chat with her for that long.
I agree. I've been around her socially, and then I've seen short interviews with her, and then this was a whole new side of Gwen that I got to see with you. It was so fun.
Really enjoyed it.
She, of course, is an award-winning singer, a songwriter, and an entrepreneur. She currently has out a very bold, very exciting, very individual beauty line called Give, spelled very confusing, GXVE, Give. So please adorn your face and give and enjoy Gwen Stefani. Boo.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
Thanks for having me.
How are you? Welcome.
I was listening this morning to the Scarlett Johansson one, and
She's
that
so
was
fun.
a good one.
Scarjo?
Yeah, she's funny, smart, and cute.
Was
She
that the
sure
first
is.
episode you heard?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm late, I guess.
No, you're right on time.
You're a hit.
People are podcast people or they're not.
Honestly, I feel like I'm just becoming one. I'm dyslexic, so I don't like read.
So
So,
sis.
so then I started getting into like audiobooks.
Yeah.
And trying to get smart.
Yeah.
I haven't really listened to a lot of podcasts, but I guess it's the next.
It's your entree in.
Oh, okay.
You know what juicy stuff just happened? Dyslexia, getting smart.
Yeah, it's so true.
I got a little sweat barrier.
Yeah,
today.
good.
First of all, welcome. Secondly, I don't know why. We've been doing this for 4 years. First 3 years, no problem with the leather.
4 years you were doing this?
Yeah.
So-
500 episodes. Scarlett was 500.
That's right. That's fucking crazy.
Never sweat. Like this leatherness wasn't an issue. But the last 6 months, I can't sit in this chair without my back getting wet.
Oh.
So as you can see, I've employed a little makeshift barrier today.
Okay, got it.
See how it goes. Okay, so dyslexic, I agree. What's weird to me about your dyslexia is you got diagnosed like 2 years ago, like officially.
You know about it?
A research.
Girl, my
It's all
job
about
is to
the research.
learn about
Like
you.
what? Oh my god, it's so private.
This is already a disaster. Just a real-time update. It's not going well with the barrier.
Okay.
It's all
I
wadded.
think you need to get one of those
There
like
we go.
I don't know, those like kind of sheepskin things you put in cars. when you-
Cabbie's best friend.
Yeah.
That cab drivers in New
Yeah,
York
you
used
need
to
to get
have.
that.
Yeah. Back in the day, there was a whole art form to cabs that's been lost with Uber.
Remember
I'll
the
just
ones
say.
that were like the beads? I
The
never could
beads?
understand the beads.
Oh, like
they would-
hanging?
No, they were like the seat things made out of like wooden beads. It didn't seem comfortable to me.
And they're called Cabbie's best friend.
To make them
I guess it must increase circulation. They're sitting all day long.
you're
We now
right.
know this is dangerous to sit all day long, right? You're supposed to get up and
Yeah,
you could get blood
strokes.
clots.
Strokes are
But
imminent.
also beads. I thought you were more talking about the decorative
No,
beads
do you
that
remember the-
occasionally.
no, they were the
oh, I know.
seat-
That's
yeah,
the
okay.
cabbie's best friend. We're on the same page with that.
I was like, I don't know. She probably is too young.
I missed out on the beads. I didn't spend much time in cabs, unfortunately.
But how'd you get a diagnosis?
I haven't really gotten diagnosed.
Okay.
It's more like a self-diagnosed, but I've done so much research on it now. In
Yeah.
fact, I just read a book, audio book called Learning Outside the Lines, I think.
Okay.
And there was another one that I read called I'm dyslexic, so I can't remember.
Yeah. Now all of a
I'm
sudden,
not kidding.
you're like, I'm dyslexic. I don't know how to put on
Yeah,
shoes.
I don't know how
I'm
to-
dyslexic. I can't drive.
I do it for everything, and it's actually real. But I did read this one, and it was the dyslexic advantage, and it was talking about the different types. And I was like, ooh, what am I? And I feel like I'm more like the dot to dot, and my gift comes from being able to sort of like, if you say one thing, I'll figure out how it connects to something else and how it connects to, and that's how I do everything. And I didn't even know it until I read that.
So wait, there's different variety of dyslexia?
Yeah. The book was really cool because it talks about all of the benefits and the gifts that come with it. And then, of course, it's super frustrating and it doesn't go away. And my biggest issue when I read is I start at the beginning and then I skip and skip and skip. And then I'm at the bottom and I'm like, shit, now I have to go back. So it takes me so much time. And then I get distracted.
Do you skip or do you do what I do,
skim.
which is, skim, you said?
I skip and skim.
A mixture of skipping and skimming. But what happens to me is...
Why are we talking about this?
Because I talk ad nauseum about my dyslexia, so this is my favorite topic. So I'm not skipping or skimming. I'm reading, right? But I'm getting to that next paragraph, and I'm like, I didn't get one item out of that. My eyes moved across the letters in a predictable pattern, and I looked at all the letters.
Is it because you're starting to think about other things like drift, or you're reading it, but then it's just not sticking?
The way I would explain it is there is one thing of just looking at the word and seeing it and going, that's the. Then there's a second layer that requires another gear for me to then internalize what all those symbols meant.
Right.
If that makes sense. Like I could be reading out loud to you and I could be pronouncing the words and stuff, but then there's this other version of me reading, which is actually like staring intently at each word for an extended period of time to really know what I'm taking
slow
in.
Processing. So when somebody's talking to me or I'm reading something, the processing time is way longer. And so like I'll be way back over on a word that you said before and like have this whole world around it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh wait, go back. What did you say? And it makes me feel silly, but it is who I am. And obviously I got where I'm at. So I'm
You're doing fine. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think I discovered it in about third grade. I can remember looking around at the classroom and everyone knew what was going on but me. We're like reading James and the Giant Peach and I'm like, I'm thinking and I'm just going to pretend like I know. And I sort of faked my way through school.
Or how about when the teacher's on the blackboard, right? And all the info that everyone's supposed to receive today is happening on that chalkboard. And so it's all being revealed. And I'm like, what is all that up there? I haven't gotten anything out of this.
No, I would be in a world of just doodles. I would have these dreams about like...
World of Doodles. That should be your new autobiography.
Okay.
World of Doodles.
But I would. And I had a lot of creative visions about what I would be wearing or what I wanted to be like or how I was going to sign my signature. Like, I mean, it was
weren't
like...
encumbered by learning. You had a free time to fantasize and create a world.
Yeah, but it was hard. And so I didn't really know. But then when my brother was like 4 years younger, then that's when they were like, okay, he's dyslexic. So then he was going to different classes and stuff like that. And he would be mad I'm even talking about it because he doesn't like talking about it. But then...
But is this the artist brother, Eric?
No, it's my baby brother.
Your baby brother.
He's
Right.
He's
Obviously,
kind of an
Eric's
artist
older.
too. Yeah.
Okay, right. So I'm of the exact age it started. So I was funneled out of fourth grade maybe and put into special
We're
ed.
talking about this. I haven't had an in-depth conversation publicly about it. People know it. And to the point where like if I would tweet something and they'd be like, oh my God, you spelled it wrong. And I'm like, of course I did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Can't spell.
no, I'll never be able to.
Who needs spelling anyway? We have spell check. And
But go ahead.
autocorrect.
So you were saying that you were the one.
I was like the guinea pig. They sent me to the learning disabled room with the other disabled kids. They were trying some techniques. I don't know that they really knew what they were doing. I
Yeah.
would feed these cards into a machine. There'd be a little outline of a cat on it and it'd say cat. I'd put it in this machine and it'd go cat. And then I'd just sit there with a stack of these little things and slide them through the machine for a couple hours. I don't know if that worked, but I was going to ask you, do you have a superpower? Because I know what mine is from the dyslexia thing, which is I have a crazy auditory memory. Like if you tell me a story, well, you'll tell me a story today. It's inevitable. I'll bump into you in 4 or 5 years and I'll pretty much remember that story. Because I think the only info you and I got was verbal.
I think that my memory is really bad. I erase what's happening as it's happening in my brain. So there's that. So I think that's actually a gift because it made me just keep going forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I can remember if someone shows me a picture of me and I'll be like, oh yeah, I know that outfit. I know exactly what my makeup was. I know who was there. I know by my interests, like if I'm interested in the makeup or the hair or the look, I can remember an outfit or something like that, which is weird. And of course I can remember all my lyrics on stage.
Yeah.
But if I do a cover, That's
trouble.
a problem.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. It takes me so long to learn a cover, yet if I write it, same with melody. If I'm working with a songwriter and they came up with the melody, it will take me forever to learn the
Wow.
melody. So it's slow being me. Yet it's not. But I also think that my other gift that I think I have is being able to problem solve, like see worlds of things in this ... thing I was talking about. So that I think I'm good at.
Then how did you do when you were acting, learning dialogue?
Horrible.
Yeah.
I only acted for I had
minutes.
3 lines and I almost died. And it was like Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio. And I was like, oh my God.
Was
And I
it Wolf of Wall Street?
No, Aviator.
Yeah. It was Jean Harlow. And the anxiety of just sitting there. I had the 3 lines taped all over my mirror and I was just like, how are we going to do this?
3 lines is often harder than 40 lines.
Yeah, and I really did want to do that.
Yeah.
And I had tried out for a lot of different things and I went through the process and I think that I could have gotten there. Once you memorize it, then I could do anything you wanted me to do. But the memorization would take so long that
Getting
it was
it in
like,
there.
was it really worth my life to do this?
So I bet if you wrote the dialogue you were going to say, that you would have it like that. Because the things I've acted in that I wrote, I literally wrote them months
'Cause
before,
you
and I
lived
didn't
them,
even need to look at it on the day. To the point of your own lyrics, your own melodies.
Yeah,
If you create them, they're kind of
in you.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so now my immediate next question is, what the fuck do you do on The Voice? Because don't you have to read cue cards
Well,
and
this is weird.
teleprompters? This is my nightmare, teleprompters.
Yeah, teleprompters or speeches. I got like a D in speech in college. And people would be like, oh, but you're so this
Outgoing.
and that.
Good at
And,
being
like,
in front of people.
But it's like, it's different because when you read, it's intimidating for me. And I think it's more because of the processing, because I don't have any time to be like, okay, I'm going to ad lib in between here. But I got way better at it.
On The Voice.
Yeah, I have faith in God, right? God
Love
is my
God.
God is my
watch
God.
a lot of interviews with you, and God
okay.
comes up in every one.
God
of
is
them.
I
your
like
God.
this guy.
Can I be honest about that really quick? Sidebar.
Yeah.
I was going reverse chronology. So I was reading newer interviews with you, and then I was going back in time and reading older ones. And I have to say, the cynic in me, I saw God a bunch. And I was like, does this have something to do with who she's married to? Like, he's a country man who's in
like
church every day.
Okay.
And she got super into God through him. And then I went back in time. No. God's been on the front burner
On the
whole
radar?
time.
He has. And it's crazy because I feel blessed about that. But it's definitely one of those things where I remember I had gone through a really hard phase in my life, horrible time in my life. And I had just given birth to Apollo. And Pharrell had asked me to present an award or it was something. And of course, I had to because he's my homie. And like, I owe him my life. And so I just said to myself in my prayer, I was like, you're done with this girl. That girl's gone. We are going to the next level. And it was almost like a mind game, like a Jedi mind trick that I had on myself. And it was also really weird because after you have a baby, it's almost like you have to transform back into your old self, but you're not your old self. And it was my 3rd one. I was 44. It was my first time getting made up and going to this thing. So I vividly remember just being like, I don't even care. And this was one of those stages. I was up high. This teleprompter was like so far away. Like it was a big teleprompter, but like literally across the entire
An
room.
arena. Yeah.
And I did it. And I don't know, it was one of those longer ones, lifetime achievement.
Oh,
like,
God.
boy.
Yeah. And I was like,
You're reading someone's
and
whole
I did
biography.
it. And I did it again. I presented one of those awards to one of my idols, Julie Andrews, not long ago. So much anxiety to do it. Had to do it, of course, and it turned out great. So now I'm just like, whatever, I own it.
I love that.
Yeah, I can read. Of course, I can read.
Reading in public and reading at home is much different. Reading in front of a camera, in front of something televised, is a much different stress chamber than you in bed reading.
Me reading to my sons, I wonder if you do this ever. I'll read them and I'll be all animated and it will be amazing. And meanwhile, I've designed a dress like, or you know what I mean? I haven't even paid one attention to what the story is. I have no idea what I just read because I was thinking about something else.
My new insecurity is they now read well enough.
Oh.
And I'm botching every like 8th or 9th word when I read, which was never an issue when they were 2 and 4.
Yeah.
But now I'm getting some words wrong, and then I notice I get it wrong, and then I'm like, God, they're looking right over my shoulder. Like, did they not pick that up? Are they going to bust me? Do they just feel bad for Dad and they're letting it roll?
My 16-year-old will be like, Mom, let me just
Take over.
Yeah.
So the thing that I thought was cool is I was reading that Malcolm Gladwell book, David and Goliath, and it said what was known forever, and when I grew up knowing, was that dyslexics had 2 times the rate of ending up in prison.
Well, that's funny. I read this book, I think it was Reading Outside the Lines, about these 2 guys that had separate lives. One was ADHD and one was dyslexic, and how their lives were derailed by their situation. It was really sad. They got into drugs, all these things, but then they ended up at school, Yale or something crazy like that. And they made this book to teach people that have these disorders, gifts, whatever you want to call them, how to live in this world that we're not really part of, right? And how do you go to college and how do you manipulate the system?
Sure.
And so this is what the book was. It was actually so cool because they were so punk rock the way they talked about their lives, and like, it doesn't matter.
It's awesome. You feel like an outsider. I identify with being an outsider, and it's just one more outsidery thing.
Yeah.
But in the Malcolm Gladwell book, it said that data was known for decades, the twice as likely to go to prison. But now they know twice as likely to be a CEO.
Well, that's so crazy.
Isn't
All
that
the time
crazy?
I'll be like, yeah, and Walt Disney, and I'll like
Exactly.
name all these geniuses.
I
Drop
know.
dyslexic geniuses.
No, I'm kind of jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see where
Well,
you
that's
would
what's
be.
funny that you
I'm
would
jealous
say
of your
that.
epilepsy.
I really. Oh yeah. That one doesn't come with any gifts, unfortunately.
gosh.
It's just
Kinda.
seizures.
It's fun though. It is funny and frustrating, but I think that I would never change it.
You wouldn't be here.
No, I mean, honestly, my life was really hard as a child because of that, but I had a really good childhood and I had an amazing family. But when I first wrote my first song is when I was like, okay, wait a minute. Nobody told me I could do this. And it was suddenly I had my identity and I felt like I had a reason to live and be part of culture and
Love that.
participate.
Gwen, I've been a professional writer for 20 years. The notion that I became a writer not only cracks me up, but fills me with the most amount of pride I could have. I wasn't supposed to do this.
Well, top this one.
Oh, hit me.
I taught the whole world how to spell bananas.
You
and I
sure
can't
did.
Right. I think that's God's funny joke.
Wow,
on
that
me,
is
right?
funny.
Isn't that funny?
How would you spell
That's
it?
Well, let me think.
Yeah, get into the lyric before it.
B-A-N-A-N-A-S.
That's
Yes.
right.
B-A-N-A-N-A-S.
Yeah.
Ooh. If I put it to a rhyme like that,
That's how we all
No,
know
that's
it.
really cool. And it's been super fascinating just in this short time talking to you about it. I could talk about it all day long.
well, you and I will go out for tea and we'll go somewhere with a very simple menu and then we'll discuss it. But
You're stupid.
Oh, wait. First, I was like, what do you mean? Do you have a small palate? But now I see about
we got to go
reading
somewhere
the
with
menu.
huge writing,
Okay.
very simple description, nothing flowery. I don't need you to walk me through the origin of this tea leaf. Just tell me it's black or green, whatever. Okay, the most important thing we're going to talk about today,
Okay.
for me, is that your fucking father, Dennis.
When you say the F word with my dad's name, I feel like I'm in
dangerous.
trouble.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Is it Dennis?
Dennis, yeah.
Dennis was a gosh damn Yamaha
You're doing every-
marketing executive.
Oh, no. What?
Do you know how into motorcycles and Yamahas I am? Did you
No,
have
I didn't know
titties
that.
dirt bikes all over your property at all time?
No.
What?
No, he worked in the marketing
Yeah.
thing or whatever.
I know these guys. I'm friends
That's
with
how
many
I got
of them.
super into Japanese culture. Because,
really?
Yeah, because my dad used to go to Japan every year. And remember, back in those days, we didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it was like, if you wanted to see Japanese culture, you go to the library and get an encyclopedia, right?
You didn't have good cable.
No.
I think
no,
you're like 2 years older than me or something, and that came on the scene late in life.
you watched Family Ties and
Uh-huh.
Sesame Street. You
Green
didn't-
Acres on a
So
sick
for
day.
me, I was like, wow, so interested in, he would bring home treasures, Japanese things that you just didn't have here. It was just so different.
Well,
But
he
the
was high
Yamaha
up
thing-
if they were sending him to Tokyo.
You know what my dad did do? He worked on the Wave Runner and the Riva. Do you remember Riva?
the scooter. Yeah, 50cc. Very
my
dependable to compete with
He
the
knows-
Honda
you've
Spree.
opened
That
up
was
a
the competitive
lot.
vehicle to the
my
Honda
God, he
Spree.
would freak out.
Oh, you had a spree, though.
I had a Honda Spree.
Yeah.
Very, very, very good machine. But hey, the Riva was a nice unit as well. They're all good.
That is so nerdy.
Okay, your dad, he's an Italian stallion as well.
Yeah.
Right? Dennis Stefani. Oh.
He was born in Michigan, Detroit.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh no, is that like
Things are imploding.
what
I'm
happened?
from Detroit,
Oh, shit,
Michigan.
8 Mile, yeah.
Oh, no shit. Oh, my Lord. Why aren't we hanging, Dennis?
Oh my God, that's so funny.
He and I could talk about the Riva. I'm sure he had something to do with the VMAX, the international release of that scooter.
I can't wait to tell him this. He's going to listen to this. He's going to be really excited.
Did your brothers, though, have access to
Nothing.
sweet? Wow.
No, they just were really conservative. One time he brought home one of those little miniature dirt bikes that were the tiny ones.
PW50.
Yeah. And we got to ride that at the school park. Once in a while, he would bring home like a motorcycle and we would just drive around the neighborhood or whatever. But it was kind of rare.
I love this guy. He's
Yeah.
from Detroit. He ended up working at Yamaha.
Yeah.
He's going to Japan. This guy is an American hero.
Japanese culture is such a part of your brand.
For me, culture has just always been whatever. Now that you know my dyslexia situation, it's a dot to dot thing. So if I was in the mall, let's say, and I was working at the mall as a makeup artist back in the day when I was a kid, and in Anaheim, we had different cultures, but it was a lot of Hispanic culture, Asian culture.
Run-of-the-mill honkies from Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But rarely would you see Indian girls come through. But when they would come through there and they would be wearing their saris, I would lose my mind.
Really?
Yeah, because I was like, I never saw that before. And then when I met Tony Kanal, which is the bass player of No Doubt, he's Indian,
Yeah.
and I didn't know what he was. And I was like 17, 16.
No, this is common.
There wasn't a big community in Anaheim.
Yeah.
And I never went anywhere outside of Anaheim, not even LA. So I remember going to his house and there was little elephants everywhere. And I was like, what is that? And then that's how I got introduced to that culture from age 17 for like 7 years. His mom would come down the stairs with her red lipstick adorned with all this sparkle. And the opposite of my mom, you know what I mean? So that I got really inspired by his culture as well. And even just Anaheim culture.
Well, what I think you love is aesthetic, right? So every time you're seeing a new aesthetic, it's not unlike when you discover for other people Russian literature or anything exotic and exciting, visually, novel. It's stimulating.
I'm obsessed with culture when it comes to the similarities and how similar we are. You know, after writing Don't Speak and going to like Israel and guys with machine guns looking in our van, and I'd never seen that before. And then the guy sees me and goes, "Don't speak," and he starts singing this song. And I was like, "What?" Like, we are all connected.
Also ironic that a guy with a machine gun said, "Don't speak," because they might just say that anyways.
Well, it's-
maybe he was about to say it anyways and realized, oh, fuck, I can sing this.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you're probably right.
Oh, God. That's
No,
scary.
I'm just saying I'm very visual, so I'm very inspired by our differences and our similarities, and
Yes.
I love to blend it all up.
We also grew up in a very vibrant time, right? The 80s is very Dayglow orange and all these weird new colors and all of the movies we were watching. Did you love Valley Girl? Is that a movie of
I
yours?
don't know if I really watched Valley Girl.
Standout performance by Nicolas Cage in his youth. The best soundtrack of all time.
Yeah, I know
All
the-
New Wave. You know the
Yeah.
soundtrack?
Well, that was the thing. Everything was booming at that time. Everybody was happy.
They were at the mall. They were
R.I.P.
flirting.
happiness.
Every song was about being heartbroken in love, or at least I was super into New Wave.
I was so into New Wave.
Who were your
I mean,
bands?
You listened to K Rock, right? Well, because you were in Detroit, but did
We
they
didn't
have
have
K
K-Rock.
Rock?
No,
Okay,
no.
so because K Rock was world famous and sort of like, you
Even
know.
it made its way to Anaheim.
But even like the first time I ever heard Prince was on K Rock, which is weird because Little Red Corvette was played for the first time on K Rock. First time No Doubt was played was on K Rock, but
Oh, cool.
God bless K-Rock. We tip our hat to you, K-Rock.
it is funny because K Rock actually did say, the programmer said it would take an act of God to play No Doubt on K Rock, and we all know that I truly have
The guy.
a relationship
You
with that
have
guy.
her
So
ear.
he hooked us up.
Wow. Since you did like blending all these cultures, how do you feel about this current place we're in?
I think it's interesting that things have just changed so fast
different.
before my eyes. You know, just the way people see things is completely different. And for me, the biggest gift that I've ever been given is to be able to travel the world and to be able to
100%.
see with my own eyes like what cultures do. And it was just a sneak peek because I was
Yeah.
in and out, but it didn't matter because I actually was the fabric of, I don't know, of pop culture for a long time, in the sense that
Definitely.
it didn't matter where I went, somebody knew who I was. So I feel like I was able to have a really good view of all the things we just talked about. We're all inspired by each other and we're all lifting each other up and we're all each other's heroes. So what's wrong with taking somebody else's greatness
Totally.
and incorporating it into your greatness and then sharing it with other people? I think that when I was working with the Harajuku girls, for example, and how that came about was, you know, from my childhood, but when I had finally gone to Japan. It was in the 90s. I had heard so many stories about Harajuku from my dad and like the Elvises and just the way girls dressed. And I finally was there. I couldn't believe
You were
I was
like, I'm
there.
connected to this.
I'd waited
world.
my whole life.
Yeah.
And so the style, for me, it was just so cool how Japanese culture is so traditional, yet so futuristic at the same
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
And then they were also so attention to detail and
very
so
performative,
artistic. Yeah.
right?
And so I was just very drawn to that and also so disciplined. Everything about the culture was just so fascinating to me and so different. When I was doing my first solo record, the first song that I wrote, I went in, I'd never written outside of No Doubt. I was quite insecure about doing it. I also was going to work with a woman, Linda Perry, and she was like outrageous. And she had just done that beautiful song for Christina. So she was like the writer to write with at the moment. I went in the room and I was telling her how insecure I am. And I just don't know if I can write. I suck and all the stuff that I do. And then she says, what you waiting for? Like, bitch, get your shit together. Let's go. And then
Did you get that out of your system?
Then I was
No, that's
like,
right.
like a cat and he's like in a moving car. A scary conversation. I wrote what you waiting for like instantly. And
Wow.
one of the lines in the song is, I can't wait to go back and do Japan, get myself some brand new fans. Osaka, Tokyo, those Harajuku girls. Damn, you got the wicked style. That was it. That was the line.
Yeah.
It was telling them that I'm a huge fan of them.
Yeah.
And that I can't wait to go back there. If I do this record, maybe I'll get to go.
Yeah.
And that's
Exactly.
the start of the entire solo period,
Yeah.
the whole chapter. So then I was like sitting there with Linda. I was like, I know what I'm going to do because I was always in No Doubt. So I never got to do shit that I wanted to do as a girl. We didn't have dancers. We were punk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We didn't get costume changes, all that creative stuff that I didn't know it
Craving.
even was in me. Growing up in a band, you see all these like pop bands having these dancers and you're kind of like, it's cheesy, but it's kind of amazing too. So I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to get my own posse and they're going to be Japanese Harajuku girls. We're going to go everywhere and we're going to be like, these are my homies. I just
yeah.
had this creative idea and that's how it was born. And then everybody twisted into whatever they wanted it to be.
Totally.
There's that.
Well, you also have to remember you're hearing the voice of 0.001% of the
Exactly.
world. 99.9% just enjoyed everything.
Well, the Harajuku girls sure enjoyed it.
Well,
Yeah.
there you go. And I loved No Doubt. Oh my God. Like, I was super young and I think it was good. There was no representation of Indian people or Indian culture that wasn't The Simpsons. Exactly. It's cool for a cool band to be incorporating some of these different cultures and you could be like, well, that's mine. There weren't any Indian pop stars in America.
Yes, exactly.
So you were
like,
bringing some of that.
instead of it being done in a
Coolness.
comedic effect, it was done for a style iconic, cool.
Respected.
Yeah.
The bass player was Indian. And by the way, that entire album was written because he broke my heart. You know what I'm saying? So like
Indian boy.
everybody
Don't
knew
ever date an Indian
everybody
boy.
knew
If we learn one
everybody
thing,
knew the
they
story
can't be
behind that.
trusted.
So all of that part, the bindi, his mom gave me that. She went to
Yeah.
India and gave me that. So there's a story behind everything and a reason, and I would say all of it was just purely innocent admiration and being a fan. And also, I lived with my parents till I was like 26 years old because of my situation with school. It was just the way it was. I loved them. Like we just,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
fine. I just lived there and I was doing the band and going to college. And
Wow.
yeah, so I was really late.
I watched a great documentary about these two dudes who basically created the East LA Latino aesthetic. One guy was a tattoo artist, clown, and the other guy did pinstriping on lowriders. I hope I got that right. Maybe one did a zine. It doesn't matter. They inspired this enormous movement in Japan of all these Japanese kids. They've got the shoes, the low pants, the wife beaters, the same tattoos, and they get to go meet all these kids and they're like, this is the most flattering thing imaginable that these kids on the other side of the world have like loved our aesthetic we created and are now putting on that character.
But I feel like Japanese culture and American culture, we've been doing a ping pong match for years. We do something and then they make it really cooler and better, especially in fashion and design. It's exciting.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Okay, So what age are you when you joined No Doubt?
I was 17, but I graduated at 17, so I was a senior.
Oh, so you had the double whammy of being too young for your age and you can't read.
Yeah.
What a great start. But your older brother Eric, right? He was the keyboardist?
Yeah.
And he was the one that was like, you should sing in this group.
Yes.
When did he leave No Doubt?
So my brother, talk about The Simpsons, he was an animator for The Simpsons for 10 years. So when that show started, he was working on that show.
While being in No Doubt?
Yeah, my brother was like
Wow.
this super gifted child. He won every art contest. And my parents were really, I think, hard on him because he was just eccentric. He was just a weirdo, arty guy. And my dad was very much like, you got to get a job. You can't just do art. And then my brother was like, I want to go to Cal Arts. And then he ended up doing No Doubt. And then he just ended up getting the job with The Simpsons. So he never really went to college, but he did a little bit community college. And then he went back to Cal Arts because he was like, I want to go there. But he didn't really go to school there. He just went there and like did his thing he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I think he was just done with No Doubt because he's such a pure artist that lives in another place in this world that we don't have
know the
access
address.
to.
Yeah.
So he was like, the idea of having to compromise with the band or the idea of having a label tell you we don't like this song, all of that kind of stuff. I think he was just done with that.
Too sensitive for that, maybe? Mm-hmm. Yeah. At what stage did he leave the band? Were you guys already successful or was it just before you got huge?
We had been together 9 years. The first album was like a signed album, but it was one of those things where we thought it came out and then we went on this like van tour across America. And when we would play, there would be like a local record store and we'd be playing at a shitty club and it wouldn't be in there.
You couldn't go buy it then.
Yeah. And so we were like, I don't think they
Where
put
is
it
it?
out. Like, did they not put it out? There was like a lot of struggle between that and the next album, which was The Tragic Kingdom.
Tragic Kingdom's the big one. You're on Interscope. Jimmy Iovine. Your brother's with the band still? Or
Yes,
he is.
he is.
So he did leave post
He's in the
massive
pictures.
success.
Yeah. Well, no, not really. We were making that record over a very long period of time. So basically, one of the things they did was they said, we're going to buy you an 8-track recorder. I don't even know if they bought it for us, but Interscope.
We're gonna recommend
we
you
ended up,
use-
we're going to recommend that you use your band account to buy an 8-track recorder.
Sell that shitty van you
Yeah.
have from touring and buy an 8-track.
And you guys just need to write songs. And so my grandparents had a house right next to Disneyland, the Beacon Street house. That's where my dad grew up. And when my brother moved out of my parents' house, he moved to that house. And so that was the band house. And so then Adrian and Tom ended up moving into that house. And we took the garage. And
Where are the grandparents? In the basement? Where have you guys put them?
They've passed.
Okay,
At this
they're
point,
up
yeah,
there
this
with him or her.
Yeah, because my
okay.
brother at this point is college age. It was way after the start of the band. But we built a studio in the garage, and that's where we would just write the songs. And my brother lived there. My brother was the kind of guy that we would practice all day writing, and then we would leave, and then he would stay up all night, write Don't Speak. You know what I mean? Like, and then we'd come back and be like, wah, wah, we suck. We didn't. Eric's the talented one, and
He's the John Legend, I
Yeah.
guess. Or, no, John Lennon. John Legend's
also
also
John
very
Lennon. Yeah, he is
talented.
very
He could be
talented.
him, too, I guess.
He could be both
And
of
he
them.
plays piano. That's actually better than John Lennon.
yeah.
Okay, accidentally got it right.
But he quit right before the album came out.
Okay, so he
Yeah.
wrote a lot of that album?
He wrote some of it. I wrote a lot of it.
Okay.
Because when my brother quit, Tony quit me at the same time.
Oh no.
And that's why God decided to say, guess what? You don't know this, but you can write songs. And then I wrote one and I was like, holy shit. I feel like I might have lit a fire inside of my heart right now.
But hold on, because this is something incredible that happens in your history, which is you're in this band for 9 years, whatever. You're playing at record stores. There's no record for sale. Then your brother quits. That's a huge source of security within this band. And then Tony, this evil Indian boy.
No,
ever
oh my God,
date an
stop.
Indian boy.
He hates
They're
Indian
all
people.
evil.
Dax does.
This is the Hassaminages of the world. So he breaks up with you. So now you don't have a brother, and now you have to work with your ex-boyfriend. And right at that moment, you think you're going on tour for like a month or two. You take a semester off school, and then that turns into 2.5-year tour.
Yep.
That's bonkers.
Yeah.
So entering into that tour with all this instability and a heartbreak, and your brother's not there, how long does that suck? When does it level off? Was any of that 2.5 years enjoyable? What was that chunk like?
It was really hard and everything was long. From finishing the album to doing the first video, which was Just a Girl. And I remember we basically shot the video. I feel like we went straight to the airport and we didn't come home for 2.5 years.
Whoa.
Like,
I love you saying
Yeah.
you left and then you came home and you were a millionaire.
oh my God, I did.
Wow.
I was. I had $2,000, I think.
When you got on the plane.
There was no hair, makeup. I had my clothes that I had. We all did. And trust me, they smelled. Like it was like, it was so homegrown and really so unexpected. I mean, we were trying to make music that was unpopular. We were the opposite of what was happening and we knew it. And we knew we were just like this geeky band that was just doing what we wanted to do.
So I imagine what's happening is you go on the road for 2 months. That's what you think is happening. You've brought 9 outfits you're going to rotate between these 2 months. Then they go, we're going to add a week. I can't imagine they call you and go, we're going to add 2 years. I imagine they keep adding a month here, a month there.
Yeah.
And you almost inadvertently end up 2.5 years later. Like, I can't imagine they hit you with, we're going to add 2 years to this tour.
Well, this is what happened. This is what gets even weirder, just in my personal life. So when Tony breaks up with me, I am desperate to just be friends with him still. I love him and we have a band together and we've created a life together. I was dependent on him because he was everything. He helped me sign my checks. He helped me make sure I had a key to my car. Like
Indian
as
boys
a
are the best
well,
boys. They're good boys.
Now we've
They're the
turned the
best
corner.
boys. You
But
should definitely
we're talking
find
about
them.
dyslexia. Like
Yeah.
one of the real
Yes.
reasons is because he filled in the gaps for me as a human being. I needed that so bad. So then when we went on tour, it was really, really hard because you have to remember I was so obsessed with him for so long and girls started to dress like me and it was really cool.
Yeah.
But it wasn't super cool when you would go backstage and they would be back there making out with your
Yes, using your look
yeah
to catch
and it
Tony's
was like
eye.
it was a really challenging time and then reverse for him, he would be in the shower and DJ from K-Rock would be going, take that, Tony, listen to this song. And then they would play like a song that I had written about him. So for
Yeah.
both of us, it was a
That's
really hard
so
thing.
uncomfortable.
Really quick question,
Yeah.
and it's inappropriate, but it's the truth. How on earth are you guys on tour? Because you're in hotel rooms
Yeah.
nonstop. You're both lonely as fuck. He's got to be
He's
thinking,
not
I
lonely.
blew
Trust
it.
me.
Oh, he's not.
Yeah,
Okay,
they
he's
were
just-
living the rock star life.
I just feel like I would end up hooking up with an ex 400
Well,
times if we were on a tour.
This is what
'cause-
happened. So this is what I was leading up to.
Sorry.
When we mixed the Tragic Kingdom album, the guy that mixed it was a guy called Paul Palmer, and he had a partner called Rob Kahane. Now, those guys were a sub of Interscope Records called Trauma. The only band they had was Bush. They loved the Tragic Kingdom. They asked Jimmy Iovine if they could have the record and work the record. Jimmy goes, sure, we don't know what to do with them. And then they ended up taking us on and kind of signing us and saying, you're going on tour to open for Bush and the Goo Goo Dolls.
So you two had a pretty quick, immediate new interest as well?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like the first day of the tour, he had a plan. He had a plan.
He had
so
an appetite. Okay, so you guys are both probably hurting each other, you and Tony.
Mm-hmm.
He's with randos. You're with this
Oh man, this is
tall
hard
English dude,
though.
Yeah.
right? Everyone's getting hurt.
It was everyone was really hurt.
How long is everyone just hurting before it dissipates enough that now you're just on the road and you can kind of enjoy it together? at
Well,
all?
there was a lot of other drama. I mean, the band would say too, and we made a video about it. Don't speak. Then my star started getting like because I was it was
You're
my
way hotter than
story.
the rest of them,
Well, it
yeah.
wasn't that. I think it was the story that people were connecting to, the lyric.
I
which
didn't
is-
mean to diminish.
yeah,
I was just
no.
a joke. You have a lot of value other than being much hotter than those guys.
You know
You're
what?
also writing better
Please
songs.
tell me I'm hot.
Yeah,
I love
you're
it.
a smoke show. Yeah.
Yes, you are.
No, but I swear to God. So then there was like a lot of that going on too, because it would be like, oh, we want Gwen for this, but we don't want the guys.
I'm sure they felt jealousy. And did you feel guilt?
It's hard when you're in a democracy the entire time having to vote for every single thing. Everything's equal, but you're not equal. It's
Right,
like
and you have different
I'm
pressure.
a girl and I have to do all these extra things. So there was a lot of that going on, but we had a lot of fun and we just couldn't believe it. I mean, you could imagine
After 9 years. That's
after
the
9
best part. You
years.
guys are like the Beatles who played in those strip clubs for like a decade before they were the Beatles.
Yeah, it was incredible.
When you were getting pulled in all these different directions and you guys are still equal in the voting way and all that. And I would imagine you didn't feel guilty as you just covered?
I felt more like, oh, they want you on the cover of whatever 17 magazine, but you can't do it because if we're not going to be on it, you're not going to be on
Oh,
it.
you felt restricted.
I felt a little bit
Yeah.
restricted.
And then
But
you had to question the motives. Like, well,
Yeah, but then
Right.
we worked it out. We had solutions like, okay, if it's going to be a fashion thing, then you do it. And then if it's going to be a music thing, we're going to all do it. And we're a band.
this is exactly what's
yeah.
happened
It-
between Monica and I.
What?
Yeah, she's an ambassador and like a model for this cool suit company. No one's asking me to do any of that shit.
Yeah, right.
The people,
such
no,
a
her
lie.
followers are like, they're super fans and they just get through me. And like, it's all happened here.
Such a lie. Everyone's dying to.
Yeah,
Capriati's wants to do something with a sandwich place.
Oh my God, they're on your ass now too?
With you.
Oh, I didn't hear about the
You have
Capriati's
sandwiches.
offer.
You have sandwiches. Okay. I'll take fashion.
How fashionable. Okay, but you guys stay together for a few more albums now?
Yeah, we were still together. We're on a hiatus, I guess you call it. We haven't
So-
done anything for a while.
In this crazy adjustment period, does it level off at some point? Does everyone get used to the roles and used to the different amounts of attention?
I think so. We were all really good friends and we all had a blast. And I think we all had our different roles that we played to make it work. And I think mine was the creative songwriting, the vision of what's the stage going to look like and the screens and all that kind of stuff. I love that.
Yeah.
You know, Tony was more, are we getting ripped off? Kind of like the manager.
Yeah. Are we
You know
getting
what I
ripped off?
That's
That
the
would be
Dax
me.
role. Yeah.
That album then sold 16 million copies. That's so gigantic now.
It was huge.
You were kind of the last chapter of when people were selling 16 million albums.
It's true. In fact, when I went on to do the solo period, which was totally unexpected, we were taking our first little break because we'd never taken a break. Because once we were swimming, we had to keep
Yeah.
swimming. And
Yeah.
I think Adrian at the time, he had gotten married and was having his first baby. And it was a lot. You
Yeah.
know, it was
Yeah.
time to take a break. And I don't know where it came from. That guy, again, we're
Sure,
talking.
sure. You know
And
damn well where that came from. Yeah.
So I was sort of like, I just had this light bulb moment where I was going to do a dance record and I wanted to do almost like a joke of all the pop music that I listened to in high school.
Yeah.
Outside of like the ska and all the stuff that I was into, but it was the backdrop of my life, you know? So I wanted to do a dance record like that for fun. And between the first solo record and the second one, the landscape of the industry was completely
Yeah,
changed.
between 95 and 2004.
Yeah.
Your solo is 2004, Tragic Kingdom was 95.
Yeah, you couldn't sell even the first solo to the next. And they
Right.
were back to back. And I had one of my biggest hits on the second one. I couldn't sell because people were stealing songs. Like it was just
Napster era.
Yeah, it got all
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
So
You
it,
were the first person, though, to ever sell 1 million downloads.
me and Pharrell, yeah.
You and Pharrell.
Yeah, for Hollaback Girl.
Yeah. I know that one. I ain't no hollaback girl. I didn't know
I know
banana.
that
Can you
one.
spell it?
I ain't no HULEBACKGIRL.
Pretty good.
Do you spell that one at any point in the song? Ain't no capital H
Oh my
O
God,
double
you
hockey
just-
sticks
Listen
ER.
to this. So one time I was on tour. You're gonna relate to this because I get so panicky when someone asks me to spell something. And I had written this song called "Serious," and it was SERIOUS, right? And it spells it out.
Is that how you spell it?
I think.
Yes,
Okay,
that
okay,
is
yeah.
exactly
I got
right.
nervous just listening. I'm like,
And
do you leave an I out? I feel like
Yeah.
there might be an I in there.
You said she said it. She said it. It's right.
We were doing that song, and I had gotten pregnant right before my first ever solo tour, and so I had the dancers, like it was everything that I'd never done before,
Yeah.
new band, everything, and I was so sick, wanting to vomit, and
Yeah,
just
morning
yeah,
sickness.
morning sickness. That every time that song would come on, I would have to do that song. I would get sick. Like it was like
Pavlovian.
Instead of like if someone eats meat and they want to throw up, I was like that song would make me want to throw up
Weird.
because I was so insecure about it.
One of my very favorite
Yeah, you
songs.
keep putting spelling songs in your repertoire.
I don't
How
know
weird.
why.
We find ways to explore our
Fit in.
trauma.
You're
To fit
right.
in.
We act out our trauma.
We try to pretend like we actually know what we're doing.
Exactly.
One of my favorite songs is GLOUS.
Fergie.
See, I can't spell it though. Taking first class up in. You must love that song, right?
Okay.
It's a gangster song.
Okay, you're going to freak out. So that song, me and Tony wrote a song called Luxurious.
I've heard it.
Okay.
Yes. You sample. Hold on one second. You just pipe down while I think of who you sampled because it was a good
You
sample.
stay quiet over there.
It's a good sample.
But we actually wrote the song without the sample and put the sample
Oh.
on afterward, which
Okay,
was
so
really
the
weird.
sample has nothing to do with this.
But
Okay.
but anyways, it wasn't about the sample. It was about the fact that when Jimmy wanted to do a remake, and I think Ludacris did a remake of it, and it was that song. It was glamorous. We said no, we're not going to do it. They ended up giving it to Fergie, and that became glamorous.
And that
That's
was
a great song. Why
big,
didn't
big
Tony
hit.
like it?
It wasn't Tony didn't like it. I think we just both were like,
Eh.
I don't know. It was one of those really bad decisions that we made. Like, what were we thinking? And I regret it so bad. But obviously, Glamorous turned out to be awesome for
Well,
Fergie.
hold on. So the whole song
There's
was
too
written
many
when it came to you
spelling.
because
GLAM.
yeah. But then she goes, "I got money in the bank, and I'd really like to thank all my fans." I'd like to thank. There's one song though about her being in a Mustang, and I just that has to be her, right? Driving around an '80s Mustang. That didn't get written for her.
No,
did
no,
it?
no. It wasn't the
Okay,
lyrics. It wasn't the
okay,
lyrics. It was the song, the track.
Just the track.
They had done like a remix of Luxurious, and then that track turned into Glamorous.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Can we remember who we sampled for Luxurious though?
Isley.
Isley Brothers, maybe? That sounds right. It's someone I love. What is
That's right, between the sheets. But
Yeah.
Making love between the sheets. na, 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 na.
Okay, if we have a singer in here, Dax sings 4 times the amount per usual.
That's right, because it's on my mind.
I
And
really I like the boldness.
I love to sing. I am a bad singer, but I really makes me feel good.
bad singer.
Right? Like, gee. When you're spelling it out, I feel good. I feel sassy, like I'm a sexy woman up drinking champagne. Okay.
When was that moment for you where you were like, I like this?
I always liked singing. I was like the kid that was in the back of the car. I knew the words to every song on the radio. I just liked to sing, but I didn't think I was a really good singer or anything like that. But I would listen to like the Annie soundtrack or Sound of Music and sing along. And it wasn't until my brother, he would play piano and be like, come on, come sing. And he would kind of make me
Yeah.
sing. And so it was not a dream of mine at all, except I did once we were in the band. I was like, I know that if somebody let me, I could do jingles for like Kentucky Fried Chicken or like any.
Yeah, yeah.
I knew that if I could get into that world,
Yeah, you
Yeah.
I
crush.
could do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your story's a tiny bit like Billie Eilish.
Oh, is it?
Well, with the brother
Oh, yeah, that's
producing the
true.
songs and going like, get your ass in here and sing. Having a cheerleader is so sweet. Do you think you find your way to this without your older brother
Oh my God,
encouraging?
no way. Older
Have you
brother.
given him half your money just as a thank you?
He could have been there the whole time.
He knows I love him.
Try to cash that out. Okay, we're going to jump to the voice.
So funny.
We're going to first say, I love the Defiant one so much. That's one of my favorite docs.
The one with Jimmy
Jimmy
Iovine.
Iovine and Dr. Dre.
Yeah. It made me feel super cool that I was in it.
Fuck yeah.
It's a cool dog, yeah.
Yeah.
You are because you're in it. I had the same thing. I was watching it and I was like, oh, I think I said this on here. I haven't accomplished one thing. I'm a fucking loser. Like, look at these people who are actually creative volcanoes and giants. It made me feel so small and worthless and less than.
But then
which
it
is
makes you feel
great.
inspired
Yeah.
too. But
Although I think it would have happened for me by now. If I was going to have that level of genius like Dr. Dre,
you're on fire right now. This podcast is killing it.
Also singing. You could be the next
oh my
Gwen
God,
Stefani.
would you want to collab with me? What do they call it when you invite someone in hip hop onto your album to like blow them up, to give them a little leg up? There's a cool term for it.
See, I'm not that cool.
I need you to do that for me. I need you to like invite me in and I'll have a coming out.
I feel like I'm past the whole hip hop record I'm gonna make too.
Guys, never say never.
I was dating a gal who was a singer. You've worked with her. We'll cut it out. And I had these totally arrogant fantasies that I might be able to write a song for her in the way that Dr. Seuss wrote Boy Named Sue for Johnny Cash. Not like I could write some really cool hip hop track, but that I could write something clever.
Got it.
In a Dr. Seuss way, Boy Named
Yeah.
Sue. Do you know that song, Boy Named Sue?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, I think so. Will you sing it for me?
Yeah, I would love to. The meanest thing that he ever did is before he left me, I'm going to name you Sue. Oh,
Yeah.
man, I know the whole thing. And back to your teleprompter thing.
yeah.
I'm having total anxiety
I'm
about it.
sorry. I do know that it's like a very character song.
And he gets to meet his
It's
old
like
his daddy.
storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he finally is at a bar one night and he sees the old mangy dog that named him Sue. And he's finally going to kill him. That's his plan. And then they have this epic fight. And he says, I know you want to kill me and you got the right,
blah, blah, blah.
Try not to get too frustrated. We can edit.
No, I'm editing it.
Doesn't matter. It was funny and clever and offbeat, but it made its way into a country legends repertoire. And I did have these really arrogant fantasies that I could write something like super Dr. Susie.
She was so talented. I watched her write some stuff right in front of my face because I'm not a writer like that. Like I have to do my dot to dot, take my time, research. I wrote this song called Underneath It All. I remember the day before we were going to go work with Dave Stewart from Eurythmics. And at that time, it was like, I was walking through the park in London and I was like, what am I going to do? Like, I have to write a song with him tomorrow. Like, what is it going to be about? The line, "You're lovely underneath it all," just popped in my brain. And I was like, okay, that's going to be good. And then when I got there and he had these strings he had worked on, this like whole reggae thing, and I literally, like, it just happened really
like
fast.
Jay-Z off the dome.
Yeah. But it's like, I'm not like a rapper. Like I've gone in so many sessions where these guys will literally go, I got it. They just go to the mic and then like this whole like song comes out of their mouth and you're like, what? And it rhymes and it's clever. And
there's references to movies from 20. Yes.
And a lot of songwriters that you go in sessions, they'll say that a lot of people will do this. They'll pretend that they didn't do any pre-production.
Of course.
And then they'll come in and be like, what about, and then they'll throw out these like lines that are so clever and everyone's like, oh, you just thought of that?
Yeah. I'm suspicious that a lot of it is that. I like to believe Jay-Z really does it.
No,
'cause
I
he's
think
my
that a
Superman.
lot of rappers do it. They channel their soul.
Okay, I have two more questions before we talk about makeup. I love this story. Your kids love Pharrell. They love Happy.
Who doesn't?
So weird. I looked at that video last night.
You did?
I had a video of my two little babies when they were at the time. Now they're huge. And it's Kingston. And he made me film this for Pharrell. And he's like, Mom, press play. And he's like, Pharrell, this is for you.
Oh my God.
And then it's him and they're doing this dance in the kitchen. It's like, if I almost sent it to my 16-year-old to go, look at how embarrassing this was that you sent this to him. And that was after I hadn't seen Pharrell in like a long time. And he had just come back and had those 3 huge hits.
Yeah.
When everyone had already signed him off as like done.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
This could be our trial duet. Clap along if you feel. It's all right.
I don't know the lyrics. For
If you feel like a room
without a roof. Da-na-na.
yeah. Clap along. That's all we need. Okay, you ready? 3, 7, 8, 9.
Clap
along if you
That was a weird harmony.
Yeah. All right, that didn't go well. So I'm not going to be on your next album. That's okay. I'll live with that. Okay, you reach out to him, and then he says, come to Coachella tomorrow virtually, right?
Yeah.
And you go, fuck it. You didn't want to. You just had a 3rd kid. You're like, I don't want to go to Coachella. You force yourself to go to Coachella. And then 1 second later, you get offered The Voice, which maybe you wouldn't have done, but then you see, oh, Pharrell's on it. And then that leads to The Voice.
Yeah.
God, right? That's
It
for
really
you,
was.
that's God.
Well, it was. And I want to say, even Pharrell, he's said a few things to me that have been very spiritual. One of the things he said to me, and it made a huge impact, I was talking about spirituality and just my lifelong relationship with God. And how I look back and I think, how can I, out of that weird little nobody girl, dyslexic from Anaheim, be this person that gets to have this much access to people? That doesn't make sense. If people knew who I really was, none of these ideas are mine. And I just know that I'm just channeling whatever I'm supposed to be doing here. So just keep it coming. You know what I mean? And so I remember saying to Pharrell, I was going through some really tough things at that point, and we were talking about all of that. And he said, yeah, Gwen, all you have to do is open your eyes and you will see. And I was like, what does that mean? When I started really looking for the connection to other people that were kind of in the same zone as I was, in the same beliefs, you would see it in them. And it was very inspiring. I know I'm kind of talking out of the lines, like you can't really hear what I'm trying to say because I don't really know exactly how to put it.
Jay-Z said it best. Real recognize real, and you're looking familiar. You could see it in other people.
Yes. Oh my God, that's
I put my
right.
hand on my heart. It means I feel you.
That's exactly what I was trying to say, Jay-Z.
Right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And maybe he came up with that off the dome. Maybe he wrote it down. We'll never know. Maybe a team of people. Listen, you say this a lot. I wrote down something, in fact, that you said. I don't know how I feel about it, okay? This is a quote from the New York Times. You just said it, and then I had written down something different, but in the same vein that you had said in 2016 in the New York Times. Extraordinary things have happened to a not extraordinary person, like a regular person, and it keeps blowing my mind. I want to know, and this is a true question. I don't have a judgment on it. the insecurity, the belief that you're not extraordinary, despite all the evidence that you are, is it vital for what you've created, or was it in your way? Like, I can tell you, the aliens come down, they look at your life, whatever you think is the answer, they go, oh, extraordinary person. Extraordinary. This person went into singing, they had this, then they went solo, that's
I have
then they go on TV.
Extraordinary life. I just know that everything that ever happened, it just appeared. And it was like, it really truly was like a mind-blowing thing for myself. Now, not until later, when I got further into my spirituality and actually reading the Bible or actually listening to podcasts of preachers that were explaining the Bible, because I don't read very good.
Yeah. Well, even
and
if you
it's
can read,
confusing.
that's
It's
an
very
unreadable
hard.
text.
But
yeah.
like Jesus was onto something. I mean, he had some really good stuff. So what I'm saying is I felt like I could not only admit that I was gifted, but also know that if I didn't admit it, that was kind of disrespectful too. So kind of that whole thing when I said I went to the teleprompter and I was like, okay, listen, get over it.
Yeah.
You got a D in speech in college, but you're not
here.
a D. Like
Yeah.
you got to
Yeah.
move forward.
You're here,
So,
you've been here
yeah.
for 3 decades.
But I think that the naive part of me, the way that I wrote, because I was dyslexic, because there was no rules in songs, that it didn't matter how I spelled. I didn't have to follow grammar rules. I just was following my truth, my heart, my story. And every time that I kept being me, which
Yeah.
was like, okay, I'm just going to wear this because I don't like my legs or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Ended up being the reason why I am the success that I am.
Yeah.
So I have learned that as an older person that yes,
Yeah, there's one part of me that goes, no, it's exactly your lack of belief in yourself that has actually been so appealing to everyone that loves you, and your owning of the insecurities and your honesty and authenticity is what has made you successful. That's one angle. I can buy into that. Another angle might be, wow, had I acknowledged and absolutely believed I was capable of all this, would you have been even more prolific? Would you have been Prince? That's the two things I question. I don't know. Does that make sense as a question? Did you hold yourself back because you had limiting thoughts of yourself?
I don't know. I think that there was a certain point where maybe feeling like I had to please everyone all the time might have held me back, staying in certain things or working with certain people or managers or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I said, I've always been kind of late to the party with all of these things because I didn't know until I knew. Now I know. So now I'm going to do this. And that made me think of the makeup line because I'm getting some award next week. It's like women that do stuff and inspire people. One of those things you're like, me? Really? But then I look back and I go, wow, crap. I've actually created a lot of things. Lamb was a clothing line at the time when people weren't allowed to do that in music because it would mean that they were trying to take advantage of you.
This
I just
is
did it.
18 years ago?
my
So
God.
2004, I
Oh my
think.
God,
Lamb.
you made me have a heart attack when you said that. No, it was like 3 years ago. No, it was probably 18 years ago.
Yeah. I'm just saying that predates a lot of the things.
But it's like when you think about some of the things that you've done with your challenges of being dyslexic, I would never think that I would grow up and have my own business.
Yeah,
like
right.
that's just not me.
But Lamb was enormously successful.
It was successful, but it was a license. That's a completely different kind of format where you don't have to do everything and you just say kind of yes or no. But it's still like a whole thing. I mean, I worked my ass off. And then I did Harajuku Lovers and I did Harajuku Mini, which was like at Target for a while, which I was designing. And I absolutely love doing all of those projects. I mean, so much. And then I did Lamb Eyewear. I did a company called GX for a while.
I love that you started doing eyewear because you realized you needed glasses.
Well, I always wanted to do sunglasses, but then as soon as I finally got my partner with it, I actually needed glasses. Now I don't want to wear them because I'm like, oh my God, I feel old when I wear glasses. But
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Can I pause real quick because we blew past it, but it is important to say people maybe will be mad at me for saying this, but you are Prince to a generation.
oh my God,
No,
stop.
no, I'm serious. For like girls my age, I mean, Erica, my group of friends will be like, if you had this person on the podcast, I would need to be there.
Oh, right.
There's a running thing of who would you need to be in the attic for. And my friend who's my age is like Gwen Stefani 100%. Also, I didn't invite her. But
Oh, Brie.
also Brie.
So my girlfriend of 9 years, and this actually dovetails beautifully into your makeup because I think you appealed to a very specific girl. So Brie, unbelievably beautiful. Monica just met her for the first
met her
time
for the
last
first time.
Sunday
Gorgeous.
at Houston.
So was
running.
Erica.
So was Erica. But Brie was drawn to the punk rock aesthetic. She wanted makeup the way I wanted a mohawk. I wanted to distract you from my face, which I didn't like. And I had all this accoutrement to have a whole character that I was confident in. The combat boots and this and that made me feel very confident. I thought if you just got my face, you're walking.
I think everybody wants to have an identity, and some people are visual and make their identity out of their hair, their makeup, their clothes, and tattoos, whatever it is.
I'm calling the kettle black. That was what I did. And I think a lot of you were, I'm not going to make a makeup that's nude and simple. I'm going bold. I'm going to create a character on my face.
Prince also was a character. I mean, he was
He
an
was.
incredible musician, but aesthetically, he was a thing, and people were drawn to that. They were drawn to this uniqueness, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
did that for so many women, especially.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
for real.
Well, honestly, like we were talking earlier, it was what it was. I didn't try. I was just doing.
That's why
what
it
I
worked.
and I didn't know that anyone was going to see it
Yeah.
or do that. But when they did, and when I tasted the blood, I was
Yeah.
like fuel. I mean, it was
Yeah.
like, you like it? Okay. I'm a people pleaser. Yeah. I'm an
Yeah.
entertainer.
Can you relate to the thing I'm talking about? That like I'm going to present to you a whole character. It's going to have very interesting clothes, and you're going to be a little distracted by this crazy outfit I've put on.
I feel like mine was a little more about being inspired all the time. I don't know why.
Try
I
it
didn't
all.
want to shop at the mall. I want to shop at the thrift store.
Yeah.
Because when I would watch old movies, I like those clothes and I like that makeup. And I like to look at pictures of my mom from the 60s, and that looked cool to me. Like what we're doing now didn't seem cool to me. It wasn't even like I had a group of friends that we were all doing this. Like it was literally me
Yeah.
going to the thrift store by myself, just knowing that one of my gifts was I could x-ray the room and find the greatest things in that room and bring it home, and then I would tear it apart and I would sew it back together, and I would walk out of the house and go, I look cool, but not like I'm going to present this fake person of who I am because I don't like myself. It was just more like,
Right.
this is what I like to do, and this is who I am, and I like this. I'm born that way. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So I think it was just one of those things where I used whatever I had around me. Like I didn't have money, but I lived at home. So I'd say, hey, Dad, can I have $5? We're going to rent a microphone and I'm going to go to practice. Or every time I would have an event, it would be like, what am I going to wear next? And, you know, I'd see people. I'd see these girls in Anaheim with this
Yeah.
makeup on. It was like literally like they airbrushed their face, and they would sit in class and they would have a mirror and they would just be like picking their eyelashes apart because they never took their mascara off, and I was just fascinated by their beauty, you know, and
Yeah.
I wanted to be like that. So I became a version of my version of it, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I plucked my eyebrows out, and it was a combination of those girls, and it was a combination of watching old movies. I was obsessed with all the Turner classics. I've watched that all the time.
I was projecting too much.
I relate with your insecurities.
Yeah. It wasn't an armor.
And I've gotten a lot of trouble for my makeup, and I still do. Like, why are you wearing a mask? What's underneath there? What are you trying to hide? Oh, you're just going to school pickup. Why are you wearing that makeup? That's disgusting. Like, who are you? You know, we all read these things about ourselves. Since I was a little girl, I was obsessed with makeup.
First of all, tell me how to pronounce it, because again, we already went over this.
Give.
GXVE, give.
Yeah.
Okay, great, give. But let the listener know, give is spelled GXVE.
Yeah. That's because when I was in high school, I started signing my name all the time GX, like G with a kiss.
Oh.
So I actually did have a line called GX for a while. And so then when I was trying to come up with a brand name, it's really hard these days. We just came up with Give, because with makeup, what I always say is when I was working at the makeup counter back in the day, and I wanted to be one of those girls so bad. And I finally got to, and I was at this really like dollar mall where nobody bought expensive makeup, but I was on the expensive makeup brand that nobody bought. But people would come in and be like, I want a makeover because I'm going out tonight and I want a free sample. I would do makeup for people, and I loved it. I don't know why I was good at it. No one told me how to do it. I didn't take a class,
Yeah.
but I could do it. So this girl came in with her husband, didn't speak English. She had a birthmark on her face. She had a brand new baby. And I remember putting her makeup on. The feeling she gave me and the gift I gave her was this moment of hope. She looked in the mirror. They were almost crying.
Yeah.
And because she felt like she never saw herself like that. Maybe it's a temporary thing. Like when I got ready for you this morning.
Yeah,
Was
did you do anything
this was
special?
me giving a gift to you.
Yeah.
I wore blue eyeliner, and you know what I'm
Oh.
saying?
I know,
Like
it's
I feel
great.
like I thought about that. And
Yeah.
I could have come here with no makeup on, and that would
I
have been a
would've
different.
punched
That
you.
would have been a different kind of
Get
gift.
out of here. Go put your face on and come back.
Love you. You are hilarious.
Yeah, it is a gift.
It
to
is.
show someone what they can be.
Yeah, and also I don't put my makeup on and sit and stare at myself all day long. I did it for you guys. I think the beauty community has been just so cool in the last 10 years since we have online. And the thing that I love most about being creative and creating something and putting it out there, whether it's music or designing something, when people get a hold of that, your identity, and they make it their identity. This is what we've been talking about all day.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I designed these handbags back in the day for La Sportsec, and it was right when Lamb came out, and they were these black and white bags, and literally couldn't walk down the street in New York without seeing one. It was so incredible.
Yeah.
But they would own it like it was their idea. It was such an incredible thing. It's just like the music or like these girls dressing up. So with makeup, the difference is that I'm creating all these different products, and when people get their hands on it, it's really fun to see what they do with it. I have this community now of makeup lovers that are equally as obsessed with it as I am. And they're doing stuff with the makeup that I wouldn't do. And of course, they're them. So it's just really a fun
But I do
thing.
think yours is different than all the other ones I'm hearing about because everything is like you don't see it, it's nude. But yours is specifically and explicitly bold, which I think is cool. It seems like that's a hole in the market.
I think that there's trends on makeup and what's popular, and everybody wears whatever they're comfortable with. Sometimes they push and they didn't know they would be comfortable in red lipstick. But I think the thing behind mine was it had to be clean, and I didn't go out to make a clean line when I started this 4 years ago because I didn't really care. I was just, I want to make really good makeup that I can wear, that I want to wear. And as I got into it, I started realizing some of the dangers that are out there, and I didn't know. I was ignorant, but then I was like, of course, yes, now it has to be clean. And that is a huge challenge to make a bold, clean line because pigments and natural paints and things that you use, it's hard. Like it's hard because there's a lot of things that you can't use to make it bold. That has been a challenge, but a fun challenge. And I just feel like me doing a makeup line at this point in my 50s, I just said that out loud. I think
girl.
it's one of
Like
those
it.
Class
things.
of 87. Ooh.
I want people to be able to trust me on this one because it's been very consistent and it's so much noise out there in the makeup world, and women and guys want to feel good and look good, and I think that they don't know how to sometimes.
Well,
I
so
want
you
to
have
be
a
able
whole
to help them.
community.
Yes.
Yeah, so you've built this whole platform around Give, which is the Give community. And then so all these gals and guys, they're posting their creations with your ingredients, which is cool, right? And they're sharing it.
Yeah.
And then some genius in your world, and maybe it was you, was like, we should allow these people to sell the makeup.
That was me.
Or right out of the gates, which is incredible, is they get 30% commission. That part's gangster. But it's not a pyramid scheme, right? They don't have to
No.
order a bunch of the
No.
product before they sell it.
No, I thought this is a deal. So I have all these people that I've been having this love affair with for like 30 years, right? And we trust each other and they inspire me. I inspire them, and we don't really know each other, but we know each other, and it's crazy. But when you go from like going to the mailbox and getting a letter back in the day to like having access to people on your phone, it's a completely different world. And I see them, they're already doing the work and they're not getting paid. They're my cheerleaders. And so I started thinking about this makeup line and this point in my life where this is a passion project. I don't have to be doing this right now. Dennis is like, Gwen Stefani, do not do it. Retire, like get out of the,
Cut the shit.
just get on with your life.
Buy a nice, safe
Live.
government bond and
Yes,
just write it
exactly.
out. Yeah.
I felt like I needed to do something creative and I would regret it if I didn't. So I did start it. And part of the thing was not just to have a regular makeup line. Like I can do that and I like doing it. Sephora is incredible. I love designing the makeup. But the idea that I could create this community of people that could be paid by being a fan was just my little way of being like, how can we be even more partners in crime? And so that's kind of where the 30% commission came in. But I thought of so many different ways we could do it, and I landed here.
I think you're on the good side of it. You wouldn't want people
Yeah.
buying like a fucking pallet of makeup and being out of pocket and it's in
No.
their garage and their parents are going, what the fuck is going on?
No,
Yeah,
I
okay.
didn't want any trouble. I just wanted to do something nice for people,
Yeah.
right? Like this is what was a really cool story. My sister-in-law, who's been with my little brother Todd, the dyslexic one, he's gonna love me for this. They've been together since they're 15. So she's like
my
my
God.
sister,
Aw.
right? Anyways, she started being an ambassador, a giver, we call them. And she's like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. You didn't tell me that I was going to have to like text people back in this community. But then she's like addicted to it and she's having so much fun. And she was so excited because she's so clever. She basically got a bridal shower gift. So she sold 20 lip glosses. And she's like, that's going to be my thing. I'm going to do showers. And so she got super excited and she's made $500 and she's like, I'm going to go get my laser on my hair.
Well, it sounds like
or whatever.
it sounds like a good part of a pyramid scheme. The fun part is like joining a community. These things wouldn't work, multi-level marketing things, if they weren't appealing. So A, you join a community. B, you figure out your own hustle, which is fun. You have like a purpose. It's the buying a shitload of stuff from somebody that's in your garage going bad. So it just really, to me, has the fun part of it without that shitty part.
Yeah, none of that's involved.
What do you think I could make?
I don't even know. You might actually be a good makeup artist.
Probably not. Do you know Jeremy Renner is an incredible makeup artist? Do you know Jeremy Renner worked at a mall and he made women feel incredible? He's like turning women's lives around with his artistry. It was the most adorable thing I ever heard.
Honestly, this stuff can make people feel, I mean, I know what it makes me feel like, and we all need to feel good and confident, and I don't know, I love it.
How do people go to the community? What is it, its own app or is it?
Yeah, there's an app and you can go in there and then you sign up. You can go in there and you can post, you can talk to each other. I'm on there all the time posting, and then you just get paid instantly. As soon as you sell, it comes right to your phone. So it's like, yeah, it's been really exciting. And there's a lot of people that I follow that have just been No Doubt fans or fans forever that I know by heart, because you start following people and you kind of get to know them. And then I watch them become givers and watch them have all of a sudden this new identity. It was just really fun to watch. It's just brand new. It's only come out like a month ago. So
that's cool.
So cool.
My last question.
I've had so much fun.
You've hung out with me socially a few times. We have a mutual friend, Robert. We've been up at Robert's house several times together.
Oh, that Robert. I was like, which one is he?
Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man. The second biggest grossing.
I was
movie star
thinking
of all
about
time.
it today. I was trying to remember which, because I also remember seeing you in a parking lot more recently.
Where the fuck was that?
You know where that Japanese restaurant Yen, right on Coldwater and Ventura?
There we go.
I think it was right there.
Right by our friend the Hansons.
Yeah.
We were leaving the Hansons. We had parked, in the weird valet thing illegally, and you were happening to be, yes, I remember this entirely.
Yeah.
But then also we've been up at Robert's house for a few kids' parties, birthday parties. So we've hung out socially. And I just wanted you to rate that. Did you find that, like, did you think I'm a good hang off air? I think people are curious.
I think that you were, but now I'm a super fan.
Okay,
No, look
great.
at that.
Now I got to talk about myself in front of you this whole time. I'm a super fan.
I'm glad that you give it. You said A+, I think is what you
Yeah,
were
I think she
don't
said
remember-
100.
I don't want to quote you directly. Okay, Gwen, this has been radical. On behalf of Erica, on behalf of Bree, you really have made so many girls feel
And me.
beautiful and
Thank
fun.
you.
Yeah, but you're right here to say
Yeah, but you're talking.
it's impossible not to wade into some personal stuff between Monica and I. It's always
part of the fun.
It's part of the fun.
Yeah, I love
We're always some evolution of our friendship is always unfolding in front of the guests.
I feel like you were mad at me earlier because when I ran into you, you didn't want to talk.
I was so nice to you. We were in the middle of our workout.
Okay.
You don't stop a
I ran
workout.
I ran into Dax on a
And
workout
me and my
and I
best
got
childhood
scared.
friend were on a walk. We try and keep our heart rate up. Hi. Oh my God, I love your car. It looks so sexy. Boy, you got a lot of stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I blew your ass up.
Okay.
But then we had to keep that heart rate up.
Of course.
So anyways, you're on the tail end of that
How would you
mix
read
up.
that?
But Gwen Stefani,
Thank
daughter
you for
of Dennis.
being here.
Most importantly, Dennis. Fucking hit me on IG. I want to go out to lunch with you. I want to talk Yamaha in the 80s. I want to talk Wave Runners, Razes. What was the other one he was into? Riva. The Riva. Yeah, we'll get into the Riva. I'll be the first person you meet that's interested in all this. So Dennis hit me up. Gwen, such a party. Adore you. Good luck with everything.
Thank you so much. I love you guys.
welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
And now my favorite part of the show.